All right, Joshua 15, let's call this one initiative. And to understand why, let's maybe go back to the beginning of the 7 chapters we're looking at this week, that being chapter 10, where we saw Joshua facing 5 kings who had assembled themselves together after Israel made a deal with the Gibeonites. Those 5 kings simply gave Joshua the opportunity to have a victory over 5 kings, but beating those 5 kings led to more trouble as a horde of kings and peoples assembled against Israel. But it simply gave Joshua the opportunity to see more miracles from God as he gave them victory over all of the horde assembled against Israel. At the end of chapter 11, we're going to see that those victories led to a rest in the land from war. But that leads to chapter 12, which gives us a review of all of Israel's victories, both east and west of the Jordan River. The eastern victories won by Moses, the western victories won by Joshua. But the victories were just the victories. They left a land that still needed to be apportioned, and the western territories were going to be simply allotted by Joshua, since God realized that he was at an advanced age and there was still a lot of land left to be developed, for lack of a better term. But chapter 13 also goes into talk about the 2.5 tribes that had already settled east of the Jordan River under Moses, and it gives us the boundaries of their territorial allotments. And so that leads to chapter 14, which is going to open up the description in the next few chapters of the 9.5 tribes that settled west of the Jordan River and the boundaries of their territories. But it's also going to talk about, as we've already mentioned, how Caleb takes the initiative, thus the title, to go to Joshua and request the portion of land that God had allotted for him. But that portion of land seemed to house a lot of giants. But it doesn't stop with Caleb. Caleb, in his conquest of the land of the giants, is going to promise the hand of his daughter in marriage to the man who takes the initiative to take a town of theirs by the name of Debir. And while we might not consider victory in battle the best litmus test for offering up the hand of our daughter in marriage, understand Caleb might have been onto at least one thing that's important in understanding how God blesses a thing, and that is taking the initiative on God's behalf. See, he'd seen it in his own life, the way in which God came to his defense to help him win battles. There's no way he could win at 85 years of age. I'm sure he'd seen the same things in both Joshua and in the lives of Moses. And he'd also, if he hadn't personally seen, heard the stories of Phinehas, who God had given an eternal priesthood because of the initiative he took in stopping the plague that was going to fall on Israel after they had sinned yet again, which all points back to Phinehas's lineage as a Levite, the Levites becoming the Levites because they took the initiative on God's behalf to help Moses in a time when he didn't have many people who were willing to help him. And so understanding all of that, even though taking the initiative for God is probably not the only litmus test for finding a suitable spouse for your kids, Caleb understood the way in which he saw God come to the aid of people who did take the initiative on his behalf. And that helped me see something else in the chapter, a phrase that comes up over and over again in describing the lands apportioned to the children of Israel. Over and over again, it's going to say the towns or the cities with their villages. And there's no way I would have understood that phrase until I got a chance to go to a part of the world in many ways that's culturally very similar to what we see here in Israel during this period of time. And it reminded me that there are many things that we will never fully understand unless we take the initiative to draw near to God. We said that there are many things that God will reveal to us that are simply revealed through obedience, meaning on the front end, I often want to understand things before I make a move, but I can't count the number of times I have had my eyes opened after simply doing the thing that God asked me to do. Thus, this concept of diligence that came up over and over again in Deuteronomy. And as we mentioned before, a passage in Hebrews 11 that says, the one who would draw near to God must believe that he is, and in the New King James, it's going to say that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So my prayer for you is my prayer for me, that we rest with purpose over this holiday weekend so that we can be filled with the initiative to seek God, not for any vain purpose, but for the purpose of understanding the ways in which he would counsel us into living more productively and more efficiently moving forward. That's why we say God's best to you as you go forward in him.